this is a weird time for everybody in music, especially rock and metal. For a younger band like you guys, how are you handling the COVID times? Do you guys have to get creative with how you stay in touch with fans and promote the record that's coming up? I know you guys are doing a lot of interactive and multimedia-based stuff right now.
Yeah, that's pretty much the only outlet bands have right now is sticking to the social medias and trying to keep people involved that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's a scary time because anytime you feel like, you know, something's going to break loose and you're going to play a show, you get the notification from the booking agent or management like, hey, you know, the venue's backing out. There's COVID outbreaks going on. So it's a super scary time for anybody, really, you know, and so it really just kind of sucks, honestly.
Yeah, and you guys broke big really, you know, recently. I mean, at the end of last year, you know, and then going into the COVID times, and Brother has been blowing up. What's really cool for me, and we talked about it a little bit the other day, is you're from Iowa. There's not a lot of bands from Iowa that get to the level that you guys are already at. And for me, growing up in that state, I know how big of a deal it is for a band from Des Moines or anywhere in Iowa to really get to the level you guys are at. I mean, does it add a little bit more hunger coming out of that state when you're getting to the level you guys are at?
You know, it really does. It really does. Coming from such a small, like, not very populated state, you know, where people are pretty much just hunkered down working farming communities, it's really a different vibe. And I think after Brother took off, I think we have something to prove that we're going to be here for a long time and that we want to be here. So we didn't really get a chance to do that yet this year, and it's really kind of weighing down on us, the band, the members, and it's just you know, we got something to prove for sure, and we just can't wait to release this new stuff to show everybody that we've been working our butts off doing it. So, yeah, exactly.
I mean, coming from a small town in Iowa like I do, everybody always talks about, oh, if I ever get out of here, I'm gonna get out of my hometown. I'm gonna do something, and everybody kind of just stays for the most part. And there's not a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. I mean, for me being in Indianapolis now doing all of this stuff, I mean, it is exciting when you're one of the ones that it's like, we've got the success, we're getting there, it's exciting, you know, and it's I hear, you know, the guys in Slipknot talk about it all the time where, you know, it's coming from Iowa, it's like you almost aren't expected to really get out and get there. And when you do, you're not going back and you're not going to take no for an answer. It's going to happen. You know? Yeah,
that's exactly right. That's awesome. Yeah. That's exactly the way we feel too, because once we got to this point, there was no holds barred. It is, you know, like a bull just running straight forward. Like this train ain't stopping now.
Yeah, and the fan video for Brother, I mean, you talked about earlier that Brother it blew up. I mean, when that song hit big, it went to #1 on Octane like right away, and then it charted in the top 50 on rock radio. You guys did the fan participation video for that. Was that something you guys decided to do because of COVID and there wasn't a lot of other stuff to do with it, or was that something you wanted to do from the beginning?
It's definitely, well, the song, you know, it's about Zach and I, our brothers. He's a guitar player, I'm the vocalist. And we wrote that song about the passing of our brother. So I think something to memorialize, you know, the equals, what we call our fans, it was to do the video with and for them. So I think that's really something that we wanted to do early on, especially with the success that came on with the song. And people reaching out, telling us their stories about how they lost their siblings and or their mom or dad, and like it touched us, and it was a huge thing. So we definitely felt like we had to do something to give back to them on being such a personal level. Yeah,
and Trial by Fire is another song that you guys have that comes from a very, very personal and very hard time that you guys went through. I feel like with your guys' music comes from a place that's why it resonates with fans so much, because it actually comes from a difficult time that people can relate to. But when you're performing those songs live, how does it affect you when you're performing those songs live? Because you're Is it hard to relive those moments night after night performing, or do you have to separate yourself from that, or do you want to separate yourself from that?
I think it's a little of the both, because I don't think, I mean, you kind of have to separate yourself to be able to put on the show that you're there to do. But if you just completely separate yourself from it, I think you'll lose the emotional value that you had and that you connected with in the first place. It's just crazy. I mean, it's weird to think about that these songs that have been successful for us have been songs that have been about, like, loss in the family and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's weird to wrap your head around that, I think, at least for us, to being about that, because Trial by Fire, we were in the studio writing that while Mom was on hospice.
Yeah.
We lost her last year with cancer and stuff. So it's weird to think about that. But we definitely, the emotional value that we put into each and every one of these songs that we play live is still 100% there. I mean, even with a little disconnect just to be able to do your job, it's still 100% there.
And doing the acoustic version of Brother, I mean, I feel like that version and that style almost adds to the feeling of the song, because it gives you a chance to, as you, the vocalist, really go down different vocal roads that you don't get to go through on the regular version or the original version, and gives you a chance to really sing and let that emotion out in a different way. What is it like performing that song acoustically compared to electric? Because the original song's such a banger, and it's kind of what we wanted to go for when Zach and I were doing it. It was something to where we wanted to put a different twist on such an emotional, heavy song, to where we just decided to go completely heavy with it and do it that route. And breaking it down acoustically, honestly, it's more emotional. I mean, I think it harnesses the energy of how emotional and thick, the song is. So, and I think people gravitated towards that version after hearing the original and really be like, this is my favorite version, this is my favorite version, so that's really something that's cool with us, because honestly, any night or day, I'll play any version that somebody asks for, because I'm down with both of them. We love them both. Yeah, I mean, to me, there's two types of heavy. I mean, a song doesn't have to be musically aggressive and heavy and hardcore for it to be a heavy song. You can have an acoustic song or a ballad that's heavier than, say like a Lamb of God song or whatever, because of the lyrical content and the way the singer sings the song. So I feel like the acoustic version is almost heavier than the original version, and it's really cool when that kind of works out that way.
Right. Yeah.
But Octane, man, I mean, Octane has been huge for you guys. I mean, and I just started listening to Octane this year, because I just got XM this year, because I'm way behind the times. But to have a radio station of any kind, especially like them, giving so much love to a younger band, I mean, how important is that for you guys, and how big is Octane for you guys?
We owe a lot to Octane, honestly. I mean, if it wasn't for those guys, Grant Random and Jose and Vinny over there at Octane, I don't think any of this would have happened. Mm-hmm. They saw something in us that right off the bat, that they were like, we want to be a part of this, and we want to help this band grow. So we owe a huge, huge part of where we're at right now to those guys, and honestly, we can't thank them enough. I talking to Grant and Jose and reaching out to those guys all the time, just saying, hey man, appreciate it, freaking love you guys and stuff like that. So the feeling is mutual, because I really don't know what to say about it, but that they helped us move along so much. I mean, they helped us get a record deal. They played us like over 1,000 times last year on Octane alone. I mean, it was huge. They're huge and such great people. Yeah, I love them, and they do so much for so many bands. They've helped resurrect a few bands' careers as well, which is really cool. They're bringing a couple bands back. But Aeons, the EP you guys released, was that on Spine Farm, or did you guys sign to Spine Farm after the EP was out? We self-released that, and then they picked us up after the traction. Yep. Okay, gotcha. I wasn't sure of that timeline. So listening to Aeons, I mean, obviously we don't know what the new record is going to sound like, but how much of the
stuff off of Aeons, not songs, but that style are we going to hear on the new record? Because that's coming out this fall, I believe, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I can say a specific date yet, but yeah, for sure this fall.
Gotcha. What are we looking at as far as that? Because I know on Aeons there's some piano, there's some electronic, there's obviously metal, but style-wise, are we looking at something similar to Aeons, or are you looking at did you guys going to go in a different direction with that, with the full length?
Stylistically, I think we kind of kept the same vibe. I mean, because we do a lot of, we incorporate some electronics, but we really dive in and there's a lot of focus, not necessarily on purpose, but riffs. Zach's got some riffs that just stick out, and so that's just the way things have been taken off on this new album, and it's awesome, and it just inspires, and we got to work with some super awesome people on this album that we're super excited that they, people that you looked up to for years, and then you're FaceTime them or shaking their hand. They're like, "Hey, I'm a big fan of your band," and you're like, "What?" I've been a big fan of your band since, 06 or whatever. It's like,
exactly.
It's blown my freaking mind, So it's been crazy, and this journey so far has just been wild. So
yeah, it's really weird when you find yourself. I've had it myself, but not on the same level as you, obviously. But when you find yourself in the same room as people you've been listening to since you were like 5 or 6. And it's like, and you're just talking to them, you're like, but you're so-and-so. They're like, it's like, what? I don't think I'm supposed to be in here right now, but I am. It's who let me in?
I feel you. I absolutely feel that.
So, I mean, it's been 9 years since I've lived in Des Moines, in that area. What's the music scene like out there now, like locally, venue-wise? I mean, when I was out there, we had Vaudeville Muse, House of Bricks. I think Woolies was in Des Moines. Or maybe another city. What's the local scene like right now in Des Moines?
Right now, with everything going on, I mean, it's pretty dead and stagnant.
Well, yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
But as far as I know, well, it sucks. The House of Bricks is gone now.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I know. It was iconic, too. I know.
Oh, that hurts.
So I know, you remember, what was it, Harry Mary's?
Yeah.
That is now Lefties.
Really?
So, I mean, they resurrected it, and it come back. That's where Slipknot got their start and everything. So, I mean, that and the House of Bricks. But we still got the Vaudeville. We got the Valair. I mean, it's still a rocking scene.
Yeah. I've seen so many shows at Valair. Oh, my God. That place gets so hot in the summer. Oh, my God. I almost died at a concert there just from the heat. Oh, so
Valair Ballroom was like the first concert I ever went to. It was the Taste of Chaos tour.
Nice.
It was Used and Killswitch Engage.
Oh, wow. I think the last show I went to there, I can't remember what it was, but 10 Years was on it. I think a Mest was on it, and Red Jumpsuit Apparatus. And Red Jumpsuit tried to get their crowd to do a Wall of Death. They just weren't feeling it. It just wasn't happening. Happening.
It's probably too hot.
It was crazy. But as far as shows, though, I mean, I know you guys still have a few shows lined up going through, like, the end of the year. Are those still kind of up in the air, or are you kind of hoping to play a few of those? Because I know there's one in August that's a festival somewhere that's got a lot of bands on it. I can't remember if I saw an announcement on that one. But a lot of bands just kind of sit around and wait and see what happens.
Yeah, we're trying to be proactive, and we're definitely trying to book shows to get out there. But realistically, it's really up in the air all the time. We're still counting on Sturgis to go through.
Yeah.
We're playing a festival in Fort Madison, Iowa, with Starset.
Nice.
I mean, there's a handful of shows that we definitely are 100% going to make. If they say it's a go, we are there.
Yeah, well, you have to. I mean.
Yep. So, I mean, it's really still up in the air, though, it's just a terrible feeling, the hurry up and wait game. You did all this work to get out there and tour. I mean, we already missed the Hell Yeah tour.
Yep.
We were supposed to be touring with Otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to be in Hawaii. We were supposed to be in Florida. I mean, it's just such a weird time right now that there's no guarantees, and that's just such a terrible feeling.
Yeah, dude, those are good tours to get canceled too. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you almost have to get into like concert shape and like get ready to get into the shape to perform. Then you put all that work into it. Then it's like, but you have to, because if you don't and then it's a go, you aren't ready. But it's like it's almost like you just can't win, you know.
Right.
So
yeah.
But
I know. I went from we went from being in concert shape to being in COVID shape. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I don't think I've ever been in concert shape. I've pretty much been in COVID shape my whole life, I feel like, ever since college. So I got to figure out how to get into concert shape, and I'll get it down eventually.
Right.
But so is the new record? Is it done, or are you guys still working on it?
It is done,
awesome.
And I'm happy to say that. As much as I like writing and being in the studio, I am ready for a break. And
nice.
We got it done. We just got the artwork and everything finalized. It's such a good feeling. And honestly, I not to toot my own horn or anything, but man, this album just freaking slams. I cannot wait for people to hear it and like get it, and like it's just going to be wild. And we did something really special for our fans on this album, and it's super awesome.
So where does the term Equals come from for the fan base? Because every band has like that really cool name for their fan base, but Equals is really cool. Where does that come from?
You know, it was Zach and I sitting down, and he actually thought of it. So I have to give him credit, unfortunately. And we were talking about that, you know, because people do like, you know, say just Shinedown Army. I'm not sure what they call their fans, or right. You know what I mean, the Nation or whatever. And we were thinking, you know, let's get it more personal, because if these people don't come to our concerts or buy our merchandise or anything like that, we really aren't even a band at that point, you know?
Right.
So Zach got personal and thought about it, and we had a song off of our 2014 album and called The Touching of Parallels. And my first opening lines, the lyrics that I wrote is rising as equals. And so Zach's like, let's call them our equals. And let's say our whole slogan is rise as equals. And it just stuck. And it was just like, that's freaking amazing. So